All right, let's move on to Al Jazeera TV. It's declined. And I speculate this is just going in a little tequila holding pattern. It'll be back in some form stronger than ever. The Qataris can afford it. What's your...
Well, you know, it's funny you say that because the Wall Street Journal actually said, I think they had horrible ratings and nobody was watching.
Right.
But they didn't really care about that because they're rich and they could afford to keep it going.
Doesn't bother
The Wall Street Journal
MSNBC.
reported that the falling price of oil was part of the reason why Qatar could not afford to keep it going. And remember, Al Gore and his law partner, or his, not law partner, his partner in that current TV, the lawyer Joel Hyatt,
Right.
they sued because they didn't even get all their money. And
Good.
I was once on Al Jazeera doing a critique of the movie Paradise Now, which is a pro-Hamas movie, unfortunately, funded by the Israeli government. And when I was on there, the people at the TV studio where I regularly did my live shots couldn't believe how amateurish and cheap Al Jazeera was.
Really?
They told me they were using MCI phone cards to call into the satellite feed from Qatar, and that wasn't even Al Jazeera America. That was Al Jazeera, which is still around. It's only the American outpost that short experiment that ended. And that was when MCI was already basically almost out of business. So we couldn't believe they were using MCI calling cards. I mean, that's schlocky. The other thing, and they kept losing the satellite because of that. The other thing is, the reason why Al Jazeera America didn't take off is we already have many Al Jazeera Americas. They're called ABC, NBC, CBS, MSNBC, CNN, and frankly, a lot of the same viewpoints are on Fox News.
And I was hoping you'd say that, yeah. And it's also very Saudi-owned, too, Fox News. 20% or so now?
I think actually Prince Al-Walid bin Talal, and this is the reason that I called Fox News Pawn, the Prince Al-Walid News Network.
Huh.
He actually lowered his interest in News Corp, which is the parent company. I think he sold off some of it, so now I believe he only owns like 4 or 5%, but it's enough. He's the second largest non-institutional investor in the network other than members of the Murdoch family.
Got it. Anything more to think about in terms of Al Jazeera? So really it's a function of oil prices. I mean, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Qatar are suffering.
Say this. I'm mourning the career of the temporary end of the career of David Schuster, the creator.
Rush Limbaugh talked about that yesterday, yeah, too.
Oh, he did? I didn't know, but I did tweet about it 2 nights ago, and I do know that Rush Limbaugh reads my tweets and my stuff, so maybe you saw that.
Okay.
But I tweeted that I was mourning the career of David Schuster, not. But I'm sure he'll get picked up again by, like I said, one of the other Al Jazeera Americas. I mean, he was at MSNBC. I'm sure he'll be back.
Okay.
There or somewhere else.
Is he the worst kind of self-hating Jew, just about?
Yeah, I mean, he's a Jew in name only, and yeah, he is one of the worst kinds, exactly. I mean, listen, if Hitler were alive today, he would be giving tips to Goebbels on what to do, and he would be asking for an interview, and he would ask Hitler and Goebbels about these disloyal Jews and, you know, other crap like that.
And Hitler would want to promote David Schuster, probably Rabbi Shmuley Boteach, too.
Yeah, I agree.
Good for propaganda purposes. But the one thing we have to say is David Schuster did attack Chelsea Hubble-Mezvinsky quite a bit.
Who?
Chelsea Hubble-Mezvinsky, Hillary Clinton's daughter.
Oh, he did? Really?
That was years ago. That was a controversial that they were pimping her out, and we saw that. Obviously, she's a grown woman now. No one's forcing her to do anything, but, you know, with her big fail with attacking Bernie Sanders a few days ago, or yesterday it might have been. But David Schuster did attack Hillary, maybe it was 8 years ago already, sometime in the last 8 years, about pimping Chelsea. Yeah, he got in some trouble for that. That might have been why he got fired from MSNBC. Might have been, because it would take something like that to get him fired. If you question Jewish Americans or engage in anti-Semitism or Christian hatred or America hatred, then you get promoted at a place like that. Right. All right. Any final thoughts on the demise of Al Jazeera America?
No, because like I said, we already have plenty of Al Jazeera America, so it doesn't really change anything.
I do have a question, though. Actually, they were controversial in the last couple of weeks with their story about Peyton Manning, which I still wonder.
True, and in fact, there are lawsuits by several of the other athletes that were mentioned in that story. But it's going to be hard to prove, and I think that's part of the reason why Peyton Manning didn't sue them. It's very hard to win a case against the news outlet. You have to show that they, especially for a public figure, you have to show there was a talent, you have to show that they knew or should have known what they were reporting was false,
Right.
and that they deliberately wanted to lie about you. It's very difficult to win in one of these cases. Yes, they're going to have to pay lawyers, and they're defending other lawsuits, discrimination lawsuits, and so on. But I don't think that was a big reason they went off the air. I think the reason they're going off the air in April is that nobody's watching, the price of oil is falling, and their experiment failed. If they were the only network that brought this Hate America coverage to TV, they would probably get a lot more eyeballs, but sadly they are just one of many.
And maybe it was just money laundering to Al Gore, though one would have to ask why. Why even bother? What's the need for that?
Right.
And then the other question with Peyton Manning is, who knows if it was even false what they published? I guess we'll never know. How do they make something like that up out of nowhere?
I do believe it's false, and the reason why is because there are sources that they interviewed said that he was a pharmacist at this place in Indiana, when in fact he was not a pharmacist, he was an intern. So therefore, if he lied about something as big as that, and Al Jazeera did not check it out and confirm what this guy did for a living, everything else in that report is suspect. And everything, frankly, that Al Jazeera does is suspect. And we already know that they're suspect because they've lied about other things throughout their history when it was in terms of coverage of America in the Middle East, in the military operations, in terms of their coverage of Israel, in terms of their coverage of ISIS. I mean, don't forget that the same country that funds Al Jazeera is one of the primary financiers of ISIS.
Yeah, two more things. Were they pretty harsh on Iran, though, being Sunni? Were they pretty tougher on Iran than any other channel?
They were, actually, and that is true. They were very tough on Iran, but only when it suited them. When it comes to Iran against America and Iran against Israel and the Jews, they were, like any Muslims, they basically, the wagon circle.
Right.
Circle the wagon.
Okay, wait, let me just think. Was there one more thing I wanted to ask you about that? There probably was, but I can't remember what it is. Anyhow, good Shabbos, Debbie. Thanks for R.I.P. Al Jazeera, R.I.P. Lawrence Phillips.
No, not R.I.P., R.I.H.
Yeah, that's true.
Rot in hell, baby.
That's true. All right, thanks, Debbie.